Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Chattanooga City Council meeting for today is the 24th of March, 2026. To get us started, I'd like to invite Councilman Harvey to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Want to do something a little bit differently today. My grandfather of 92 years passed away last week. We had his service yesterday. Appreciate all the text and calls. Appreciate my brother from another mother, Ron Elliott, for coming to the funeral yesterday. So that really meant a lot. But he was a man who loved his city. He was a lifelong resident of Signal Mountain, but made his living as a blue-collar man in the city of Chattanooga. He drove a truck for Coca-Cola, worked at the old Signal knitting mill, and made most of his career at DuPont over in District 3. So I wanted to honor him today by having a moment of silence. If you don't mind, join me in honoring my grandfather, Charles Albert Harvey. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we get started today, I see some faces in the crowd that are not our every Tuesday faces. So I want to share with you a little bit about how our meetings progress so that you can make choices about when you want to be here and understand how things work. So
There he goes again.
Councilman Henderson used to say when he was chair, will you please be sure to turn off your devices, silence your devices? We all want to do that. Anybody who isn't silent might be a great time to do that. But what I wanted to share with you all is that our council meets every Tuesday at 3:30 to begin our official work of the day. Now, very often on Tuesdays, we also have other meetings throughout the morning and afternoon. Today, our council had an education session for new members on our pension plan, for example, for fire and police. So this council puts in quite a lot of work throughout the day. Today, what we're going to do is we will go through our agenda for this afternoon, and then we will take a look at our purchases. We'll take a look at our agenda for next week, and then items that are going to be on future, what we call future considerations that are going to be on our agenda in the next 3 and 4 weeks. This is a council that does its homework, that looks far out in advance so that by the time we get to the point where we're going to vote, we are well educated on the issues at hand. We will go through all of that. We do have a committee meeting today. All of our committees are a committee of the whole. We'll have an economic development committee meeting with a presentation from the Chattanooga Tourism Company. And then we will take a recess. Our recesses are usually about 45 minutes because surprise, surprise, we have work we have to do in between often, whether it be with our constituents or with our attorney. When we return, we will vote on all of the items on today's agenda, and then we will be very happy to open the floor for public comment. You'll have the opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes if you are interested, and we will cover the rules when the time comes. So that said, thank you for being here, and we will get down to it. Council, please take a look at our ordinances on final reading. Hit your light if you have any questions. Oh, thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Rewind, we're going to do a quick minute approval. And actually, we have a special presentation as well. Sorry, I missed that. So let's do our minute approval. Can I get a motion on the minutes from last week? Thank you. The minutes will stand without objection. And actually, everybody, sorry, that little speech about here's what we do is a new one for me. I've only done it 2 weeks now. So we'll get more succinct on that. But we do have a special presentation from CARTA related to booting and immobilization of vehicles. This is an item that's going to be on our agenda soon. So if I can welcome up Charles Frazier, please. Take it away, sir.
All right, good afternoon, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair, City Council members. My name is Charles Frazier. I'm the CEO of CARTA, also doing business as the Chattanooga Parking Authority. And I have a small army of people with me today. Our goal is to answer all of your questions today. Anything that we can't answer, we'll bring back to you before your first reading. But allow me to introduce Brent Matthews. He's the Director of Parking and Facilities. Rachel Ruiz, she's with Miller Martin, and she is our legal counsel. Just wave your hand. Britton Stansel on this side, he's the founder and CEO of Brightbase. Emily Mack, President and CEO of River City Company on that side of the room, and not here today, but certainly a collaborator with us, Melissa Blevins. She's the President and CEO of the Chattanooga Area Food Bank. And so in just a minute, I'm going to run you through a briefing on the ordinance, which we are calling the Consumer Protection and Parking Compliance Ordinance. And if I may, I just had a couple of comments I'd like to do before I start the presentation. First, I'd like all of you to be aware that I am cognizant of the fact that this community has strong feelings about parking, whether parking should be paid or whether it's not, and the pricing variances. And so my approach to this has been an active listener and a collaborator. And so what I'd like you to understand is for about the last year and a half, in partnership with Emily Mack from River City Company, we have been convening a quarterly parking meeting. And at the quarterly parking meeting, Chattanooga Parking Authority is there. We've invited all of the private operators of parking to the meeting. Chattanooga Tourism has been there. River City's been there. Private businesses have been there. And the goal of this was to put everything on the table about what people are experiencing from a management point of view of the parking spaces, and then what people are experiencing when they come downtown. So that's the first comment. The second thing, I just want to acknowledge that in our parking ecosystem in downtown, there are some challenges to be solved. CPA, Chattanooga Parking Authority, manages over 7,000 parking spaces, and then the private owner-operators manage 14,000 parking spaces in whole. So there is a lot of parking available. The challenge starts is because as someone parking, you can't tell the difference between where you're parking. Everything is commingled and sometimes right next to each other. And so I want to just share an experience with you about how I really learned that there's a problem to be solved. I came downtown for lunch, a meeting, looking for a place to park. I was looking in the paid parking because it was the least expensive and closest to where I wanted to be. Wasn't available, so I came into a lot. And I parked in the lot, had to download an app and get my credit card entered. By the time I was ready to check out, I discovered that the minimum time that I could park was 4 hours at $10 an hour. And so what was starting off as my $12 lunch was now a $52 experience, and I was angry by that. And so what I want you to understand is that the ordinance in front of you is not a silver bullet. It's not going to solve all the problems, but it is a major step in the right direction. And so with your consideration, I'll go ahead and jump into the presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
All right, starting off, I have a short agenda. It's a brief presentation, 7 slides. I want to just explain to you how we got here today. We actually started this process 2 years ago. I'd like to just explain to you what the ordinance does in plain English. There's 4 major components. I'd like to explain to you a little bit about how the private operators intermingling with CPA and the challenges that gives our community. I want to talk in general about how this ordinance will help Chattanooga. It's going to help both businesses and people that are trying to park. Important, I know, to this council, the Community Support and Amnesty Program. We've had a lot of conversation about this over the last 2 years. I'm going to give you the bottom line about what we're trying to accomplish, and then I'm going to give you a forecast about what's going to happen over the next several months if the council does approve the ordinance. Okay, so how we got here, this really started from my point of view in 2024. You may remember we had a new CARTA board. I was brand new to the organization, and as we were getting acclimated to all things CARTA, we discovered that there were tens of thousands of parking citations that were outstanding and millions of dollars that had not been collected. At the time, it was actually feasible for CARTA to begin enforcing through immobilization, and we just never had done so historically. And I can't answer that question about why we never did, being new to the organization. When we put our plan together, I came and met with the sitting council members at the time, and what I learned from all of you was we need to make sure that we're protecting our community. And so there are robust community support programs. I'm going to go over those with you today. But then something happened. In 2024, 2025, state law changed before we could actually implement the plan and begin the enforcement process. And so now we are back at the table. We are following what is allowable by Tennessee state law, and that's what you're going to hear today. I do want to make sure that you're aware that there is a problem with people not following the rules, and it's quantifiable. From CARTA's point of view, we have over 64,000 outstanding citations, and that is a value of $4.1 million in fines. And at the end of the day, the real issue is less parking available to support businesses. This is really an economic impact, economic activity problem to be solved. And so that's how we got to where we are today. Okay, what the ordinance does functionally. So this creates a legal framework, and it does four things. The first thing it does is it establishes consumer protections for any entity that's involved in enforcement, whether that's CPA or private owner-operators. That's the first thing it does, and that's things like if you're going to enforce by a mobilization of a vehicle, it must be self-releasing. There must be a 24/7 customer support line that people can get a hold of. So those are baseline, and those are baked into the ordinance itself. The second thing it does is allow the Chattanooga Parking Authority to enforce parking violations both on the street and then in our properties, the garages and lots that we own and operate. The third thing it does, and this is new from where we were 2 years ago, it assigns the Chattanooga Parking Authority as the licensing administrator for any private operator that would like to take advantage of the enforcement program. So we're going to be in charge of licensing. And then finally, it allows the CARTA Board of Directors to establish the licensing requirements for those operators. And so that's the framework that you're going to be considering. Practically, what this does, kind of two columns here, it creates consumer protections. So, for example, all enforcement operators must be licensed, bonded at $250,000, and regulated by CPA. Mandates the self-release enforcement tool. It requires clearly posted signage at the entrances and exits of any of the lots. And then it caps any service fee at $75. It also restores fair enforcement. This completes a phased compliance plan that we brought to you in 2024, so we're picking this up. It uses the local option permitted under Tennessee law, so we are following the rules. And this really focuses on repeat chronic non-payment violators. We are not looking for little onesie-twosies. We're looking for the people that are chronically abusing this. Hundreds of tickets that are not being paid, they're just ignoring the law. And then, of course, the amnesty and voluntary payment remain the first step. Okay, licensing for private operators. So this is the part where I think there's a real opportunity to move the needle and make parking more available for parkers and also for businesses. These are the draft licensing requirements that will be finalized by CARTA's Board of Directors. But any private operator that wants to take advantage of the enforcement mechanism will need to meet the licensing requirements. In this draft, what you're seeing is there's a maximum hourly parking rate. It cannot be more than 150% of the on-street rate, which you are assigning. So for us, it's $2 on street. The most they can charge per hour is $3. There's a maximum daily parking rate of any licensed operator at $18. This one I think is critically important. A 1 hour minimum must be allowed. So you're not able to do this 4 hours, 10 hours before you can use the system. Maximum ticket fine not to exceed $25. So there would be the daily max, which is 18, plus the 25, so it's not a $75 ticket. And then a maximum escalation fee for delinquent tickets of $20. So no more of doubling the ticket. They want to be able to have you pay and move on. Okay, so those are the draft requirements. Licensing oversight, so Chattanooga Parking Authority will be responsible for both issuing the licenses and then monitoring how any private operators are using the system. So we may revoke or suspend licenses for good cause, including violations of the ordinance itself. We are to investigate customer complaints. This also requires us, as a safety net, quarterly complaint reports to City Council, so those will be coming to you directly. Ensure all lots comply with the required signage standards, so it's going to have to be overt that this is going on. Their license number, the names, the customer service phone number. We will be referring suspected violations to the Attorney General, law enforcement, or both. And then we also will maintain a public registry of all of the licensed operators. Okay, this is a little bit of a repeat, but I just wanted to kind of reiterate challenges today. Some, not all of the private operators require 8 to 10 minimum hours of payment, even for a short dinner or a quick errand. Some operators charge excessive rates and fines compared to CPA, and this contributes to limited public parking inventory for restaurants and stores downtown. We've heard from a lot of restaurants in support of something that will help get people in their front doors. What this ordinance changes, it creates a reasonable time minimum for people that actually want to park for short amounts of time, fee caps, mandatory licensing, and then it creates a more reasonably priced public parking opportunity. How this helps Chattanooga? For drivers, I think you're protected from arbitrary fees if the public operator is participating in the enforcement program. For local businesses, fair, more predictable parking means customers aren't deterred and driving away and, not being downtown. Responsible parkers, this is one I've heard a lot about. People who follow the rules, stop subsidizing those that don't. And I think that's what we want to do, is just everybody follow the rules. And then the community, all enforcement, CARTA, and participating private companies operate under the same standards overseen by the CPA. Okay, this one is an important slide that I'd like you to just take a minute and digest. There are 3 components to our community support programs. First and foremost, if the board is to adopt the ordinance in April, there's no enforcement taking place until October. So there's a 120-day proposed amnesty period, giving people an opportunity to resolve their fines and cover that. Second, a proposed hardship program. We need to work through the exact details of this. CARTA's board will do that. It will be administered by the CPA. It will offer a monthly payment plan and then a partial fine reduction, could be anywhere from 25 to 50% based on the qualifying hardship. You lost your job, something like this. And then the proposed food donation credit program. So I always try to make a win-win out of sour situations. We really want to try to make a positive impact for the community here. So we are going to include a partnership with the Chattanooga Area Food Bank where folks are encouraged and incentivized to donate either cash or food to the food bank to pay down their fines. And we will finalize what that escalator is. But the concept is if you pay $1, you get $2 towards your fine removed if you do the food donation. So there's an escalator and an incentive. There'll be some sort of maximum food donation credit that CARTA's board will work out. And we don't know if this will be ongoing. For now, we're going to table it at this would be available during the amnesty period. Okay, bottom line, 4 bullets. This is for responsible drivers. It stops subsidizing those that are ignoring the rules. For private operators, they must meet fair standards to access the enforcement tools. Downtown business, gain a consistent, welcoming parking environment. And Chattanooga, this completes a plan that was interrupted by state law and does some more. Next steps, and then I'm happy to take whatever questions you may have. Assuming that the city approves this, you'd have your second reading in April. What would happen is CARTA's Board of Directors in May would go ahead and take on the responsibility of the licensing requirements and finalizing the community support program. The amnesty period would run all summer long, June through September, and then enforcement would begin in October. And I've already put out here, just kind of looking ahead to April, what I would like to have happen is us come back to the city council and give you a report. Here's everything that we found that took place in this, trial period for this. And then finally, before I stop for questions, I do want to look for some opportunity for a tongue-in-cheek opportunity where maybe we could boot one of your vehicles as we're getting, as a joke, just, to kind of get the word out there that, oh, look, somebody got booted. And so I don't know, Madam Chair, if you want to volunteer for that role or if...
I pay my tickets.
But I think the point is we want to make it a little bit of a media event and make it a little bit more fun, but we really are going to be pushing the food donation as the primary source for people paying down the fines. And with that, I will yield my time and happy to answer any questions you may have.
If any of our council members appear on the list of offenders, start with them. Give them the opportunity to make that tongue-in-cheek and say that I pay my tickets and actually, I try really hard not to get tickets in the first place. I'm cheap. I'm really cheap. Okay, Councilman Elliott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Charles, I want to first thank you. I know you came into a situation that was not great, so I want to applaud you and your team for trying to figure out every way possible to make sure CARTA is successful. I know ultimately you guys are really need more financial support, but I appreciate you guys constantly thinking outside of the box. So I want to say that first, and then secondly, I do want to say there's a black Tesla in the back that you could use. I think it belongs to the Great District 8?
We won't get tickets.
Please feel free to use her as a test case. I have a couple questions. So for those private entities that are operating parking lots or have paid parking opportunities, are they grandfathered in, or do they also have to sign up for a license?
They're not grandfathered in. To be able to use the enforcement tool, you've got to be licensed with CPA if you want to use the enforcement tool. And for the lot or the garage that you would like to be able to use the enforcement tool, you need to meet the licensing requirements.
Okay. And so they're not required?
They're not required.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I think you just answered a lot of my questions then.
And if I may, council member, I just want to say that it's been really eye-opening for me to sit with the private owner operators and hear about the challenges that they have. And what I'm observing is they want to be part of the solution. And so they've got the same situation in terms of unpaid citations and a dollar value to that. My approach is try to bring everybody along and find a team solution to it. And so we'll continue to do so.
Madam Chair, one more. Based on your conversations, how many private entities are you expecting to join this program?
I know for sure that we've got 3 that are real interested. The main players in town are Brightbase, Omega, Laz. They've been all at the table. I don't want to speak on behalf of Britain, but I might just throw out there that Britain has already signaled in our conversations that the licensing requirements are in the realm of possibilities for them. I think, and so I said I wasn't going to speak on his behalf, but I'm going to. I think that it's good business to draw more revenue to the lots, and if you can be competitive with the pricing, I think it's a win-win.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we go back to the slide where it talks about the amnesty? I've got a question regarding that period, that 120-day period. I know we're incentivizing people to bring in the canned food, but we only give a fine reduction to people who are hardship. Can we create an incentive, and I think you and I talked about this during the call, where if we create an incentive, not necessarily tied to our hardship, to recoup some of that money, can we say if you get rid of your, if you pay something in that 120-day period, we'll take 25% off. And it's just not limited to people who have hardships, but as an incentive to get those tickets down. I know that was something that we discussed.
So the answer is, and I'm happy, thank you for that, Councilman Clark. The answer is that we will take everything into consideration. So just the fact that you brought it up here today, you and I had already talked about this. When we present to CARTA's board, we'll make a recommendation on all of the things that we've heard. And our goal is to have a win-win-win across the board. So I think it's absolutely possible, and I'm happy to take that note and we'll put it into our plans.
Madam Chair, one other question. Booting is very controversial in other cities where the abuse, where it's not uniformed, and it causes the opposite effect of people not wanting to come into downtown. And so what is the process that makes sure that we're not going down that road when we have to be like, okay, is booting becoming more of a nuisance or a money grab? And not saying that that's the intent, but is there like an appeals process or like some type of review committee that would allow us to be like, listen, we don't want to be like Philadelphia. And, they have those shows where they have shows dedicated to booting because it's just that chronic, but that much of a nuisance for its residents. How do we avoid that? And is there a review process built in to this program that catches that if we're going down that road?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think I have 3 comments on it. First of all, I want to be clear that CARTA, CPA, I don't believe the city wants to be responsible for enforcement. In many states, enforcement is handled at the state level. And so if you have a ticket and you go to register your vehicle or renew your license, it stops there, and that's where the enforcement takes place. So I've already had some conversations about how we move that forward, because at the end of the day, I think we want to avoid any conflict. To answer your question a little bit more directly, there is an appeal process that's built into this. We will be monitoring all of that, and as I indicated, we will be bringing to the council reports on this on a regular basis. And I appreciate you, after our conversation, I quickly looked up what's going on in Atlanta, and I was like, good grief. Like, I really don't want any of us in that. And for CARTA and the city, we both get some revenue from the citations. This is not a revenue stream that we're looking to leverage. It's not something that we want to be counting for to pay for capital or operating expense. What we really want is people following the rules. So I'd much rather have enforcement at the state level, and it's just handled there, and we have no revenue from it. That's my ideal solution.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Frazier. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Dotley.
Yes, thank you so much, Madam Chair. Charles, thank you so much for this presentation. Listen, as somebody who has been ticketed multiple times downtown while on council, at the Creative Discovery Museum, $40 I had to pay because I forgot to put the anyway. So just know, I am glad to, and I've got multiple tickets from multiple private operators, just for variety of me just forgetting to put it in or just being Rakita and feel like I could just park where I want. So I am excited about this because it brings some uniformity, it brings some order to downtown, and it brings everybody to the same place. The fee cap, love that, because as somebody who, I probably spent maybe $1,000 in fees over the variety of private companies downtown, because I frequent downtown, and it becomes very expensive when or if I'm at the movies and my movie's 3 hours, I pay for 2 hours, now I'm paying $40. So to be able to do that, I'm grateful for that. Now, you mentioned the self-releasing mechanisms. Could you share a little bit more about that? Because I was interested in, what does that look like? So is it a boot or what is it?
It is. It's a boot on a vehicle. We could bring one in and show you. They're fairly lightweight, and then you get a code. So you call in and you get a code, and then you enter it, and it self-releases at that point.
Once you call and you pay,
That's right.
pay the fee. And then I guess that'll be something a little, okay. So you call and pay the fee, and then love the partnership with the food bank. I think that is fantastic. I'm a big fan of the food bank. But overall, I do like it. I had my reservation, but I support CARTA, so it was hard for me to have a lot of reservations. But I had some reservations about it, as you know, rumors and things kind of get around in the community and misinformation. So to be able to get all this clarified and people can understand and I can explain it, it's fantastic. But just me as a resident of Chattanooga that visits downtown, let me tell you something. If I wish somebody would have did this 10 years ago, I would save me thousands of dollars at this point. And I hope that more operators join on board with you all. For us, because it is, my little $40, I could have used that for something else, but then I had to pay it, or me being me, I argue with the private operator too, because sometimes I don't pay it. But it's just, so also, if I come up on the list, just know, I'm just saying it out loud right now, just in case I come up on the list.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
If I may, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
If I may just, Madam Chair, if I just may respond briefly. I just wanted to say thank you for your comments, and also Councilwoman Dotley. I want to thank you in particular because when we met 2 years ago on this, you really did kind of give me the open book test about your concerns, and so those have been baked into the whole concept, and so I really appreciate that from you. But also, just a reminder, also our hope is, so as these citations and the fines come under control, please remember that CARTA already offers the first hour free in our garages. I would like to see us expanding that to maybe it's the second hour, maybe it goes to the lots, and maybe even some of our private operators could start to extend that same kind of a courtesy. So we really are focused on quality of life for our residents, economic activity for our businesses, and I appreciate the support.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman Henderson.
Thank you. Charles, does the private operators own the boots?
They will own the boots.
Okay, and I'm assuming the number that they call is on the boot. Is that how they get the number to call?
There will be multiple numbers, yes. It'll be on the boot, it'll be everywhere.
Well, when you say everywhere, what do you mean by everywhere?
Signage, so it'll be on all signage, so it will be in lots, the entrances and exits of lots, garage, there'll be signage on the street, but certainly on the boot as well.
Okay. And then when they self-unlock, we're just going to leave them there on the street?
No, it needs to be returned to a designated location. We will work out those details about where it needs to be returned, but it does need to be returned to a designated location. For example, CPA at Shuttle Park South is where we would have a drop-off zone.
And how will they know this?
How will they know? Oh, it'll be part of the, when they're calling in to understand the fine and how to get the code, it'll all be explained.
Okay.
And we'll do a good media push beforehand. So when I was joking about booting Chairwoman Hill's vehicle, but I said that, we won't be.
You see me
it
not
won't be
finding
yours.
it funny.
Let's do mine. We'll boot my vehicle. But I say that because I think what we want is the media partners' support. We want people to know that it's happening, and we're going to inundate people with all of the ways to navigate that scenario. We really, again, I want to tell you, we don't want to be booting. What we want is people following the rules. But I hear what you're saying, and I'll make sure that the signage and that we have all of the safeguards in place.
Okay. Thank you.
Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Frazier.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And actually, you have answered my question because my council family has already asked them, so we were all on the same page. And one of them was the appeal process and then the self-release, where you would actually carry that boot that was on your vehicle. And so how would the constituents that are owing fines now be able to
So we didn't want
find out what their fines are?
Yes, ma'am. We didn't want to get ahead of ourselves, and so we wanted to make sure that the council was fully briefed. We will start putting together the program, so there will be notification to everyone. It'll come in written form. There'll be multiple notifications over the next several months, and it'll continue on. Just to be clear, everyone has already been notified. They have the ticket, the original ticket, they got the notice of the ticket, there's been follow-up, and so everyone is already aware, but we will notify everyone again. On our website, we will create a dedicated page that has the frequently asked questions, how to find out your balance, the number to call, all of these things will be detailed on the website.
Okay, thank you, because I'm always concerned that my constituents do not have any extra hardship placed upon them.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I want to always be ahead of the game when it comes to that. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, and
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And we could also, anything that the council thinks of between now and the time this goes into play, I would love your feedback. We will do some open houses. We can host things at any of our garages. I'm open to whatever strategy you might recommend.
Well, I think it's a good thing from what I see.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilman
Thank you,
Harvey.
Madam Chair.
Councilman Harvey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Charles, thank you for your hard work that you're doing at CARTA. Really transformed that department down there. So thank you. Thank you for this detailed plan. And I love entertaining the thought of offering some sort of, 1 hour, the first hour free parking. I think we've got to make visiting downtown, visiting our areas much more friendly and appealing to not only Chattanooga residents, but those outstanding in the rest of Hamilton County. So I love that idea. Just a couple of questions. So when you talk about enforcement, who is doing that? Explain that kind of to me. And who's doing the booting, et cetera?
That's right. So already today, Chattanooga Parking Authority does this on behalf of the city. So we write the citations.
Okay.
So we will also be doing the enforcement for this as well.
Okay, all right. In the tag on to that, who's responsible if a boot damages a wheel?
We would be responsible for that, so we'll need to take that into consideration. There are a lot of different models that we are investigating. Obviously, we really don't want to be doing enforcement, and so we want to minimize risk. And I want you to be aware, as much of my job is managing risk. So we have so many vehicles on the road every day. We're already doing this work, and so I think we're properly poised to do it properly.
Okay. And I know earlier you mentioned, we don't want to boot first offenders, but is there a number in mind that you have that we would consider booting a person? Is that in the plan?
So in the ordinance itself, you have to have 3 outstanding citations past 60 days due and nothing under appeal before you would even pop onto the list of possibilities.
Okay.
Our intention is to work backwards from that, although anybody that reaches that threshold could be booted. But really, there's folks that have 200 citations, 300 citations. And so we really are going to be focusing, and I do want you to know it's not limited to CARTA. The private operators are having the same situation. UTC is having this same situation on campus, so it is widespread.
Okay, gotcha.
I have one other comment, if I may, starting to your first point about the free parking. I want City Council to know that one of the budgetary requests that I submitted to Hamilton County was an opportunity to subsidize the second hour free at CARTA's garages. And so I think it's important for the city and the county to come together and give an opportunity for economic impact downtown. So I'll let you know how that turns out.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go around the horn again, but since everybody has already spoken once, I'd like to get a couple of thoughts in. It does seem to me that we have an environment in private parking in Chattanooga that has become predatory. And as a city council, it's important for us to act for justice and to try to eliminate predatory practices when possible. On the other side of that coin, we talk a lot about our rights as Americans, but also we have responsibilities as members of a community. And so I think that this balances that, right? That you have protections, you have some base level expectations for due process, and also there's an expectation that you follow the rules. Because if we all follow the rules, then it works better for everybody. And I think one reason that I'm a little bit touchy about this one is because in my district, we have an incredibly dangerous road called the S-curves, the Hickson Pike S-curves, where we have cameras and they are allowed by state law to take pictures. And people can be pretty blasé about those tickets. But the reality is that people die on that road. And when people go slower on that road, people don't die. So I don't think it's something that people should speed through the S-curves just because they can and say, oh, I don't have to pay a ticket. And so in the same way, we have small businesses downtown that rely on people moving through them.
Yes.
And it's important to be able to park. Mm-hmm. And if people didn't park and stay all day, we wouldn't have to have paid parking. Mm-hmm. Now, that said, couple thoughts. One of the concerns that I have for CARTA, knowing that you all run on really tight margins, is the cost to manage this process. And so I had asked you before, will you be charging a fee for licensure? And I know right now it sounds like, we've got 3 or 4 primary private entities. But I encourage you, Charles, that as your board works to build that into your bylaws for that you can if you find that you need to. Also, can I get clarity? I just want to double check. If a boot needs to go on a vehicle in a private lot, you're saying that CARTA staff will boot that?
Thank you for the clarifying question. No, the answer is we won't do it in a private lot.
Okay.
So in the ordinance, you'll see there's some very specific language. When the private owner becomes licensed, they have to have a licensed vendor that will actually do the booting. It must be an employee of that company. So thank you for the clarifying question. For private operators, they will have their employees do it. They still have to be licensed, a vendor by us.
Okay, thank you very much. And they would have their own locations for where you would drop off the boot?
That's right, they would, but CARTA will take the lead on kind of creating this one-stop shopping for who's involved. We'll know all the people that are licensed, and so we'll put it all in a map and make it easy for people to find.
Okay. The other thought, 2 other thoughts I had is that for myself, I would love to see private parking lots become private developments that contribute to our economy in a meaningful way. I think parking is obviously necessary. It's interesting that we have double the number of private spots than we do public spots. But parking lots aren't doing our downtown a whole lot of good when it's just a vacant lot that nobody's doing anything on. So perhaps not allowing a predatory environment will encourage people to think a little bit differently about how they invest or don't invest in their property that they own. Final point would be, I would encourage you to think about how this can be a marketing differentiator. I know we can't put signs on the private lots that choose not to participate in this that are predatory money leeches. But we sure as heck can put it on the lots that are licensed and make it very clear, this is a place where you have consumer protections. This is the preferred parking. And, we're going to have the tourism company here and we've got reps from the chamber. Like, that should be on all of our Chattanooga literature. When you come to Chattanooga, be sure to park in this lot. In the same way that sometimes you go to a city and it says, don't get in a cab that doesn't have this sticker on the window, or you might get taken advantage of, right? If you park in one of these lots, you will not be taken advantage of. So we have some consumer education for all of our visitors that come. We want it to be a positive experience for them as well as for the folks that live here. So
Yes, ma'am. I have three responses for you.
Go for it.
Number one, I did follow up on your first question, and yes, CARTA could charge a fee. Just be aware that operators will already be required to have the $250,000 bond. But to your point, to make sure that we're covering our margins, so we will make sure our board considers that. Secondly, I just want to kind of think positively here. I envision an opportunity where we create something like the Chattanooga Parking Club. And so this is your trusted space to park. This is where you know the pricing. This is where you get the first hour free or whatever it is. So I'm already kind of thinking in that direction. And so we will continue to flesh that out. And I just put the logo up there as something to be thinking about in the future. So we absolutely are already in line with that. And then finally, I think at our next quarterly parking meeting, we're going to play back this meeting, because it's important to me that the private owner operators, the businesses, all understand kind of your direction as you're setting this. So I'm happy to take forward this message, and as we're collaborating together, make sure everybody understands the game plan.
Thanks for exceeding expectations and having this little guy on your secret slide. I appreciate that. Okay, we are going to go back around the horn. This thing is lit up. So, Councilman Elliott.
I just have one question. I had somebody text me since we're up here. What time, are there certain hours to which someone can call in and get a boot removed?
24/7.
It's 24/7, okay. Want to make sure they heard that. And for the situation, if they cannot afford immediately to get that boot removed, does it stay booted? And so they either go through the program, some of those cost burden programs you highlighted, or are there other workarounds?
We'll need to flesh out exactly how we manage that. And so what I'll let you know is we will build into the program some sort of minimum payment type of a situation. I want to make sure, though, that I'm not giving you any legal. That's right. I'm good on that. I look around, so I'm looking for my lawyer, I'm looking at Phil, like where do I, so the answer is we can build in that protection. So again, going back, so this is not a money grab for CARTA. This is not intended to be something that's a penalty for people. We want people to follow the rules. My goal is enough outward attention during the amnesty period that we've reached all of these folks in the near term, and then give everybody an opportunity to resolve this, a payment plan reduction, whatever it is. I'll make sure that we address your question specifically, though, and that you'll have that answer.
If a vehicle remains booted and unpaid for a period of time, will there be any towing incorporated in it, or does it just sit there?
I'm going to say that there's not going to be towing by CPA on the public locations, and I might look one more time to our legal folks just for any guidance on the towing piece of it, if there would be an ability to tow, but I would anticipate we could set those rules.
Yes.
Okay, we can set those rules. So I think what we can put into the license agreement is that there is no towing allowed once it's been booted.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Why would we do that? Why would we not add something like the car will be smashed and melted?
Was that intended for me? Or?
Well, I mean, the next call that we're gonna get from our constituents, and Councilwoman Dotley will get it the most, is there's a car booted in front of my house, and it's been sitting here for 6 months. So we absolutely are gonna need to be, have some kind of pick up that car and
Some
take
sort
it
of
away.
mechanism.
Yeah.
So we'll take note of that, and we will bring that back to you as part of the licensing agreement so that you have knowledge of that.
Okay. Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a follow-up question. I know there's a lot of things you have to flesh out, and I know to some of our questions, but for some of the chronic individuals who you mentioned have thousands of dollars worth of tickets and they're booted, right? How much of that ticket price do they have to pay to get their boot out? Do they have to pay all of it? So let's say if I owed $4,000 in parking tickets and I get booted in front of the choo-choo, do I have to pay all of that $4,000 before my car can be released? Or do we have a program that says, if you get into like a repayment plan like they do in the court system, like, are we sensitive to those things? Because I'm with Chairwoman Hill on this. I've been just talking to some colleagues in other cities. There has been predatory practices, and we still have to protect our constituents and the consumers regardless of their chronic behaviors. And I'm concerned about that because I'm seeing the case studies in other cities, and I want to make sure we have those protections. So that's my first question. But secondly, some of the things that you mentioned that we need to flush out, should that be included in the ordinance, or should that be solely left up to the CARTA board to decide when it comes to some of these things you've mentioned? That's two questions.
Sure, let me take them in reverse order. I'll start with number 2. I think that we've baked into the ordinance itself, and I want to thank City Attorney Noblet for his expertise in this area. We've put in the things in the ordinance that should never be considered by anyone other than the City Council. I think it makes sense. CARTA is your representative by city code to manage parking. We are set up to do this work, and so I think that the CARTA board is well prepared to take on the challenge of the licensing, the community support programs, so I think it's an okay thing, but you would need to tell me if it's not. I think everything that's necessary is in the ordinance.
Gotcha.
For the first piece, I want to kind of reiterate, and I think it was similar to what Councilmember Elliott was asking. We can look into, what happens if somebody gets booted. We're talking about October before any of this would happen. During this runway, when we're teaming everything up, we're going to be whittling down, and we're going to be having a lot of communication with everyone that's on the scofflaw list, the 64,000 citations. That communication is going to be overt. We'll end up sending certified letters when necessary to make sure everybody knows. And that's when the opportunity for the payment plans and everything else. But to answer your question, I'm going to follow up with both you and Councilman Elliott on what that negotiation is. Should I get the boot and I can't pay the whole thing, what happens then? We'll work through those details.
Okay. Can I have a follow-up question, please?
One.
Thank you. Just one. I guess my concern is that, we judge people based off some of the decisions they make, but we don't know what put them in that decision to even be there if they're coming into town to work. And this is where, because some employers and some schools don't even provide parking. So I just wanted us to be sensitive to when we're judging people about how many tickets they have. We don't know why they have tickets. Sometimes that they may not have the money because they have 4 kids and they're struggling even to pay light bills. And so I just want us to be sensitive when we're creating these policies that you mentioned and how they repay, so it doesn't become a burden, not just a hardship, but then we become a burden. And so if those are things that we need to enshrine in city ordinance about, if you have $4,000 worth of tickets and you become booted, then if you get into a repayment plan, then we'll unboot you. Some effort towards your chronic issues. So I just want to say that statement, and I hope you're open to allowing us to maybe add some of those types of things to the ordinance.
If I might respond, I'm open to, so I'm a public servant here, and I'm serving all of you, and I'm open to all of the suggestions, and so I take your comments seriously. We are thoughtful and sensitive to the community, and will continue to do so.
Thank you, Charles.
You're welcome.
Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
Thank you. I just have one, well, actually, Councilman Elliott asked the question in reference to the release, if the boot was on, if it's a 24-hour release and staff's call in, so you answer that. But the only other comment I want to make is that I'm looking at the logo. It looks really nice, and you are in the Great District 8, so I would love to see some pink in there somewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Henderson.
Charles, if a person gets booted, I'm going to go out on a limb and say it should not have caught them by surprise.
Right.
Because they've had at least 3 violations. And forgive me, I've never had a ticket, so I'm not sure how this system works as far as parking ticket. I've had plenty of speeding tickets. But I'm assuming they get a ticket on their windshield. Do they get a letter in the mail saying they've got a ticket?
If it goes past the escalation time, so if there's after a certain amount of time pays, yes.
So they've gotten at least 2 forms of communication that they've gotten a ticket. And then at some point, I'm assuming that we send them a letter saying, now you've got 3 violations, correct?
That's right.
So they've had multiple forms of communication. By the time they decide, well, I think I'm going to go downtown and take a chance on not getting booted. I mean, that's got to at least be in the back of their mind, correct?
I would think so.
Okay. And so during this grace period that we're giving everybody, they're going to get another letter saying you are potentially going to be violated. You're potentially going to be booted for your violations the next time, that you come down park, correct?
Yes.
So you've had multiple forms of communication to these individuals. And it sounds like we're going to create some kind of program where they can at least call and start setting up some kind of payment plan so that they don't get booted when they come down, correct?
That's right.
I mean, so if somebody comes out and they find their car booted, I mean, it shouldn't be of a surprise to them that, oh my, it's not like they've had one violation or they just, extended their time and now walk out and find my car booted. I mean, this is after multiple communications, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Charles, that is all the questions on the board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, council, let's take a look, please, at our agenda for today. Hit your light if you've got any questions about items on final reading or first reading. Both of them are in District 5. Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As far as the first reading in Parks and Public Works regarding the abandonment of the public sewer, I think we're good with that. I plan to vote that through tonight on final reading with your support. Our first reading and I want to say thank you to our neighbors who are here regarding the Agawilla Drive zoning case. 2 weeks ago, I was not here because I was sick, so thank you all for coming and participating in that conversation. And thank you to the neighbors who have reached out and have been in communication with Karen Rennick regarding some of the permitting processes with this project. I do have a desire to approve this tonight with the 67 townhome units with conditions. And Madam Chair, I did send those to the city. I just sent those to you, by the way. We were working on them today. But there will be 7 conditions placed on that. Do you need that discussed today or,
No, I think if the city attorney has them, we can read them into the record. Let's also make sure our clerk has those, please. And then we can get those read in and we will pass that with conditions. So we'll just need to do an amendment to that ordinance. All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Council, looking at resolutions for today. we have a deceptively short agenda compared to the talking we're doing in special presentation and committee meeting, I anticipate. Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under resolutions, the item regarding Boy Scout property, I know we talked about this at length last week, but I just wanted to reiterate for the record, is Richard Phelan here? I don't see, or Chief? Okay, I saw him outside earlier. I just want to reiterate the intent of the purpose of purchasing the Boy Scout property, that and we said this last week, it's to have control over the destiny of this property so that Hamilton County and the city partner together to have have control of the destiny of this property and to maintain it as an open space. Is that correct?
Thank you, Councilwoman. Kevin Roy, Chief of Staff. So it's a buy and hold strategy. We don't have any plans for the parcel. Our intent is to buy it so that we can control its destiny. I don't think that it isn't that we don't want to preserve it in perpetuity, but I don't think that that's something that I should say because that hasn't been explicitly agreed upon between the city and the county, but there are no plans, and that is the default setting in terms of that's what it is right now, and we're just going to hold it.
Okay, so as far as the city of Chattanooga goes, there is no plans for any future of that space other than to protect it from any further development at this point?
There are no plans from the city of Chattanooga's perspective to do anything with that property. We are simply acquiring it so that we do have control of what happens versus some external party having that control.
Okay. And I know because it's a resolution, we really can't put any conditions on a resolution, but as I sat on the Planning Commission, I brought this up at the Planning Commission and I don't know how many of my council members received emails over the last week, but I received lots of phone calls and lots of emails encouraging the city to protect that property and maintain it as open space. So I do want to get that on the record because there is an extended interest, because it's connected to Enterprise South, because it is green space, to continue to protect that at all costs, so.
Absolutely, and just on behalf of the administration, we also have received a lot of input along those lines, and we are very sensitive to that desire from the community, and we want to honor that.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilman Elliott.
Kevin, don't go too far. This is on this item here. Building on what Councilwoman Burr says, so I hear this correctly. There's no plans now, but are there any mechanisms in place to ensure that it remains a green space? Or is this something that the city and the county is going to hold, and you all can be out of office, it can be in the administration on both sides, and somebody comes up and this is now an extension of our industrial park?
Well, so that second part would require its own process. I would imagine that there would be rezoning involved. There would be a lot of things that would be subject to this body and to the county commission, should there be like a change in use for the land. Is my presumption. What I am, to the extent that I appear cagey about it, it is simply because I'm not aware of any deed restriction on that property. I'm not aware of anything already in place related to that property's use. What I am aware of is the intent for us jointly purchasing it at this moment is simply so that we have it. And I'm, again, just want to reiterate that we have no plans for it.
I'm gonna say this, plans change quickly. And I just don't want, I'm gonna say this for my vote. I don't want somebody looking at me crazy down the line and say, you voted for this to be natural open space, but plans change and it's something else.
Sure.
So I want to make this clear. I hear what you're saying, Councilwoman Burrs, and I appreciate it and respect it that her intention is for this to be an open space. But is that for sure?
No,
Because if you're not,
not. Like, I think that's what he's saying, is that, no, there is no plan for this. A vote on this is to purchase this property. It is not to guarantee that it will be open space. That's not in the resolution. That came from these emails. It's an idea from the community.
I just want to make sure it's clear, because I hear what you're saying, and I just don't want there to be a misunderstanding if something changes. And I don't want people looking at me crazy for my vote and saying, I pulled the wool over their head.
Well, that's correct. So what Madam Chair says is correct. I'm not saying that it is going to be preserved. I'm saying that the property exists as it is today, and we're acquiring it, and it will continue to exist just under the joint ownership of the city of Chattanooga and Hamilton County as it is today, and that there are no plans to change its use.
Right now.
But in 2
Right now, but I
weeks,
can't
the
predict
chamber could bring an idea, and that would change.
Right.
Or,
And I can't predict the future of what, I'm not saying that in a snarky way, I'm just saying I don't know what the future may hold, but I do know that this administration and in conversations with the county, there is no plan to do anything different with it right now.
So I want to say this to be clear for everyone who's listening. If this does pass, yes, it may be a green space now, but that may not be the case in the future. So I don't want people to be misunderstood as to what could happen.
And that would, I think, more so be the case if it was purchased by an external party, right? In this case, we know that there are no plans for it, and so we can rest assured that it will continue to exist as it does now.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Karen Rennick, I have a question for you. Is this proper, did we rezone this property to OS? Is that the right zone?
I was
Or
just
the
checking, I
recommendation
believe
there?
the property is zoned M1 without conditions, and I think that was a carryover from when it was annexed, but I can confirm that. I have an email with Richard, I believe, where we talked about the property.
I'll have to go back and look at the agenda of the Planning Commission 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, that I thought this was on our agenda and we made a recommendation for it to be rezoned.
It was the mandatory referral case. It's part of the caption for this on the agenda, has the mandatory referral case, where it says recommended by Planning Commission, MR 2026-0024. I think that's the case that we talked about, the mandatory referral case to do the, enter into the contract. So
Okay.
the caption's a little bit different, but that's the follow-through of that being the mandatory referral case that was discussed at Planning Commission. But
Okay.
I don't think we discussed the zoning, and it was not a zoning case.
Okay, where did I get, I'll have to go back and look at the notes to see where I got OS.
But I just checked, looking at the zoning map,
Okay.
it's not zoned OS.
It's not, okay. So then my other question, and I guess, sorry, Chief, I have, and Karen might be able to, nothing can be done to that, with the property without the agreement of both entities? So if one entity came to the table with an idea for that property, because we will be joint owners 50/50, both entities have to agree if there's going to be anything else done with the property?
Let me answer one part of the question, and Kevin did touch on, well, I haven't looked at deed restrictions, I have no idea about that. It was just answering for the zoning. And so the property is, I understand, does not have road access, so some of that would have to be addressed. But the zoning goes with the land regardless. And so that is the zoning for the property in the city of Chattanooga. So how it gets managed and how that's done is outside the purview of zoning.
Okay.
And I confess I'm a little over my skis on it. I don't know the answer. I need to find out.
Okay.
In terms of, but I don't think that either legislative body could unilaterally act on a parcel within kind of the portfolio of Enterprise South, but I do need to confirm that.
Yeah, our city attorney can confirm
Yeah,
that.
if this is jointly owned property here in the name of the city and the county, neither party can do it without the consent of the other.
And I apologize for all the last minute questions. I
That's
thought
okay.
I thought I had this figured out in my head, but all of a sudden these questions have come up. So again, my apologies. I know we should have had these conversations prior to today, so my apologies.
That's all right. And I
Okay.
again, want to reiterate my recognition and the administration's recognition of the community sentiment around this issue. And
Okay.
just want to be clear one more time that we have no plans
Yeah,
for it.
okay. Thank you very much.
Councilman Harvey.
Thank you. I guess some clarification on my part. So since the county, and this may be more of a Phil question, since the county will have, monetary skin in the game, so to speak, so all right, let's say this goes through, who has the authority? Is it both bodies to rezone this? Should we need to rezone this, is it county commission and us? Or is it just the city council since it's in the city?
If it is a property that is within the city of Chattanooga, we would have to consent to any rezoning, yes.
Yes. So both bodies would
Well,
have to
right now, you have a
consent.
regional planning commission that sends things to the RPA. That's the way that works right now, and that would come to you in that regard if it was in the city for rezoning.
Okay, all right. I too got a lot of emails on this, and I think there's some public confusion on, since it went to planning commission, I think they automatically think it was recommended for a zoning. And so, of course, open space was at the top of everyone's mind. And I think, council members, in my opinion, I think that's where that came from, is everyone's advocating for open space. I think, I think this property has a better chance of being open space if we do this with the county than a privately owned or a private development, because if we don't act on this, somebody else will quickly. And it's not going to be, it has much more of a promise to be an open space or whatever we want it to be with the county. So I'm for this. I think it's something we need to do so we can protect this land and do what's right for the citizens of Chattanooga.
Council, I don't have I'm far from a perfect memory, as you all know, but I believe that when we initially discussed this and it was presented to us as the city of Chattanooga has a limited amount of space for large manufacturing economic development projects, and that we wanted to control this property. So I do think that the desire of the community has brought in the open space conversation, but when we initially learned about it, I was not under the impression that that was the intention. Though we hear from Kevin, there is officially no plan for this land, but it sounds as though a longer intentional conversation about the potential of expansion of a much-loved park would be appropriate in another forum. Do you have something you want to add, Karen?
I do, and I was looking it up based on Councilman Burz's comment, because we had a robust planning commission last month. You are correct. There, in the planning commission resolution, it was about the MR, and then there is in the resolution notes says, and whereas the Planning Commission recommends that the city of Chattanooga explore the option of rezoning the property from IH heavy industrial to OS open space zone. So I'm sorry for misspeaking, so I'm glad I wanted to. Yes, I had to go back to the Planning Commission, and so it was a Planning Commission just explored the recommendation of that rezoning. You're welcome, and apologies.
Thank you. Okay, council, do we have any other conversation about that item? Okay, we have a human resources item, we have some mayor's office appointments, and parks resolution, or parks and outdoors, public works. Please hit your light if you've got questions or comments about any of these items. There's also a planning item and some police items. Councilman Henderson.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. Under the planning item, and I don't know how I missed this last week, but the $2 million, and I don't remember us really discussing this much on the west side for the reconnecting. Is the $2 million just coming out of the planning agency, or where is that money coming from?
There is a $2 million grant from US DOT grant for reconnecting communities. And that was a grant application, I believe we got council approval. I think it was as long ago as perhaps 2022. But then we had received the grant, and then there was kind of a pause during administration changes. And so that is a $2 million federal grant.
Okay, all right. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Councilman Elliott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not directly on this item, but administration, to Councilman Henderson's point, now, I know I've made a request previously for us to put where cost centers these are coming from, and you guys do a great job in our purchasing document. So Debbie, thank you for your team for that. But when we have these resolutions coming up, I also ask for that to be placed there as well. So as council members, when we see these items popping up, we know exactly where the money's coming from, and also the public as well. So I think this is the third time I've asked about it. I would really love to see if we can do that going forward. Thank you. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And so, Mr. Attorney, that would be important, I think, in the captions of these items?
Add the cost center.
Yes. Okay. Well, speaking of cost centers, let's take a look at our purchase request for today, council. We have, it looks like 6 purchases. We do not have any other purchases for consideration, renewal, RFP, emergency, or sole source purchase. Hit your light if you got any questions about these purchase requests. Okay, looks like we're good on that. Let's take a look at our 2-week agenda, please, council. Ordinances under first reading. We do have an item under resolutions related to the Stadium Corporation and an MOU. I believe that there's, that the administration is interested in potentially deferring that item, but we will know next week if we need to defer it. That's item A. Under item C, council, you have received full red lines and videos explaining these EIG policy changes. So if you haven't already had the opportunity to take some time and look at those, please do. If you have already seen those and you have questions, go ahead and hit your light. Okay, it looks like we don't have any questions for next week. Let's take a look at future considerations, please, council. Oh, here, we got some bites. Councilman Harvey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like some clarification under Parks, Public Works, and Wastewater on item B, the historic guidelines for use. If we could get some clarification on that, please. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Chris Anderson, Senior Advisor to the Mayor. Councilman Harvey, I'll do better than that. How about a full presentation next week about it?
Perfect.
You got it.
I'll take it. Thanks.
I'll make a note of that. Okay, Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was going to be my question for Mr. Anderson. Is it, but prior to the presentation next week, it's okay. Can we be sent the guidelines for review prior to the presentation?
Yes, my intention, Councilman Clark, my intention is to actually send those this week.
Okay.
But I need to create a summary to send them to you tomorrow after this meeting is over tonight.
And let me commend you on this. Councilman Harvey and Councilwoman Byrds, and I'm sure other council members have expressed, it's like you were psychic. We've expressed interest in this. And many of these historic sites are in our districts, and mine in particular is the Shaven House. And so we have been having conversations, especially with all the demolition of historic sites and how the council can work to preserve those through ordinance. And so I'm really excited about this, to be able to review the guidelines prior to your presentation.
Well, thank you. We had a dedicated team work on this for about a year, and it's complex because you have Department of Interior federal regulations mixed in with local regulations and also local opinions about it. But the goal was to try and simplify to where there aren't 4 sets of rules for 4 historic districts, but rather one good document that tells people plainly and simply how to renovate their homes, how to add things to their, basically, it's a how-to manual for existing in those districts.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm excited to say that
Yeah.
Lupton City is one of the very first planned communities in all of the United States, and it's in District 2. And that neighborhood association started work a few months back, and they are considering entering into the historic neighborhood program. So pretty exciting when you see neighbors coming together to do big things. That ends our agenda session. I will now hand the gavel over to the chairman of our Economic Development Committee.
Take it away.
All right, welcome to our Economic Development Committee. Can I have a motion on the minutes? It's been properly moved and seconded. Council and visitors, we are joined today by our friends from Chattanooga Tourism to give us a presentation about their work, who they are. You know, this is a still largely new council. Yeah, are you okay? Okay. Do you need water or something? Okay, we got one. All right. Not to hear from me, but I'm gonna let you take it away. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Councilman Elliott. My name is Susan Harris. I'm the interim CEO for the Chattanooga Tourism Company. And today I am here to tell you a little bit about our organization, who we are and what we do. We do have some of our staff members and board members here with us, and I am grateful for their support as well as for your support. So the Chattanooga Tourism Company has as our mission to promote and develop visitor experiences for our community's social and economic prosperity. Oh my gosh, what does that mean? We are a destination marketing organization. We are working to have visitors come to our city to experience all that we have to offer. And as our Commissioner of Tourism at the state level says, to leave their money here and impact us from an economic perspective, which is why we're here in this committee today. We, in 2024, had 11.1 million visitors that came to visit Hamilton County. And those visitors, on average, that's both day visitors and overnight visitors, but it amounts to about 12,000 people per night staying in our hotels and our short-term rentals. That included overall record-breaking economic impact of $1.8 billion being left in our county. And that spending supports our local economy. That spending generates, we know hotel, motel, lodging, that's what everybody thinks about when they think about our industry. But these folks are eating in our restaurants, they're shopping in our stores, they're visiting our attractions, they are paying parking and parking tickets. Unfortunately, we do participate in that quarterly parking meeting. These folks are impacting our local economy by being here with us, our visitors are. And what we think one of our key issues, not just the visitors, but we employ 30,000 people in Hamilton County in the hospitality industry. And those are folks, I live in Chairwoman Hill's district, those folks live in your districts, right? And the hospitality industry, more than many other industries, is a career pipeline and pathway. The amount of stories of folks who start as housekeepers and move up to general managers of hotels, who start as dishwashers and move up to be chefs or restaurant owners or restaurant managers, folks who work part-time at attractions and then find their career path, maybe in marketing, maybe in accounting, in some other way that they benefit our community. Our industry does that better than most other industries. And we also support small businesses, right? When we think about what attracts visitors to Chattanooga, it is the authenticity of our community. And that comes from our small businesses. Those visitors, when they're here with us, they're spending money, again, 5 categories. I mentioned them earlier, but food and beverage is the largest. So our restaurateurs are the ones who see the biggest gain from our visitors when they come. Accommodations, transportation, retail, and then also recreation. $73 million in local taxes is what our visitors left with us in 2024. And that translates to over $1,200 saved for every Hamilton County homeowner because of those visitor taxes. So again, real economic benefit for our residents as that comes together. So what is our team doing? We have a robust marketing organization that is trying to get folks to choose Chattanooga. Our internal team, we have digital advertising. You see on your screen some examples of some of our most recent web and social media advertising. We do traditional advertising as well. And then we focus a good bit on public relations. We focus on getting journalists to visit and to amplify our stories of what makes our community special. Some of the most recent PR hits that we have had, you might have seen Southern Living, which just came out the other day. We had a fabulous feature from NPR on skillet curling down at the at Ice on the Landing at the end of the winter. And then we've also had a recent feature in National Geographic. So again, these are large-scale, respected publications that our stories of Chattanoogans, are being told. One of our biggest partners is the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, and you may have heard a little bit of one of our great investments with them, which was through our Michelin Guide for the American South. 4 of our local restaurants received recognition internationally in the Michelin Guide, and that is something people don't think about, but there's an investment, a partnership with our organization, with the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, with an organization in our industry called Travel South. And when we made our decision to embark in that project, we actually pulled together 50 of our restaurateurs and sat and listened and talked to them and heard their feedback to understand really how this type of publicity, this type of opportunity could benefit them. And so we're very, very proud of that and our ability to work with those restaurateurs. Sometimes people say, oh, if you're marketing Chattanooga, I never see your commercials. Well, you don't, because we don't advertise Chattanooga in Chattanooga. We advertise Chattanooga outside of Chattanooga, right? So a visitor is somebody who's coming from 50 to 70 miles away. And so you see our map here where we talk about some of the specific areas that we target. We definitely do some targeting to those kind of drive market radius, right? Where folks are coming on school vacations, family vacations, those types of things. But then I also want to call your attention to some of those far off dots. Those are strategic places where we know through our research we need to do some things. And then, as you all have heard Mayor Kelly say and have participated in some of the work at the airport, right? Air service development is economic development. Tourism is economic development. We've had recent flights coming out of Florida, Central Florida, South Florida. We have recent flight announcements coming out of Denver, coming out of Chicago. Those are all places where we've been able to invest our marketing dollars to support our partners at the Chattanooga Airport. The other place that we really work besides marketing is in recruiting events. So we have a group sales team that their focus is to get folks to come here for meetings, events, conventions, and they're doing that by building relationships, by participating in trade shows for maybe associations or different areas, and then also hosting site visits for the meeting planners. Every occupation in the world has an association, and most of those have annual meetings, and we'd like for those folks to choose Chattanooga for their annual meeting. And so our meetings and sales team works to recruit those events here. Last year, we had 271 events that our team participated in hosting here. Again, meetings, conventions, festivals, and sporting events. And this year, you might have seen some of those. We've had student groups that have been record-breaking this year. If you've been out and about over the last 4 weeks or so downtown, we had DECA, we've had Skills, we've had HOSA, we've had a number of those student groups. We've had Ironman in our community for more than a decade. We're very excited about that. But our team also, for next year and beyond, have secured over 300 future events, so events for 27, 28, and 29. And those future bookings are important because we're competing against other cities. We're competing against Greenville and Asheville and even Nashville at some times on trying to get those events and meetings to choose us. big win that we had last year. Hopefully you were able to participate with the International Bluegrass Music Association's World of Bluegrass. That is a 3-year investment, so they'll be back with us. Last year they were in September. This year they'll be in October. It'll be a little cooler. Maybe you'll enjoy it a little bit more if you get to come out and experience some of that music. We also have a couple of pretty large-scale events coming up on the runway right now. We have the Women in Travel Summit, which is 500 female journalists focused on travel and tourism from across the world. And they will be here in Chattanooga and experiencing all that our city has to offer. It's really hard to quantify the potential media exposure that can come from an event like that, and that's happening in May. And then I know you were very well aware of our community's opportunity to be the base camp for Spain's national football team, and we're very excited about that partnership. We appreciate your partnership and obviously the work with Baylor School and Vision Hospitality with Hamilton County and the Sports and Events Corporation. So when we think about what's next, our goal is to continue the momentum of the things that we've just shared. And we're looking at doing that by attracting more visitors, strengthening our partnerships, and again, continuing to drive that economic growth. And some of those partnerships, I've already mentioned the airport, another one is with the Chattanooga Convention Center. Both of those things are key gateways that introduce visitors to our community. It is critical that we remain competitive in order for folks to continue to choose our destination. We have done some work to help our stakeholders in the industry and in the community understand what some of our opportunities are. We've done some, actually using money that was made available to us from the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development. We've done a music venue study. We've done a convention center future studies that the Carter Street Corporation has updated as they're kind of thinking through their work. And then we are just finishing a sports tourism facility study. And all of these things let us know what our customers need and actually what our competitors offer, so we can understand kind of that landscape. The last thing that I just want to share with you before I share a video is that this is what our mission, this is our work. We have a talented team that is excited about continuing to build these community partners, not just with you guys, with the county, with even the other municipalities, but with hoteliers, with attractions, with restaurateurs, with small business owners, with our arts partners. We have a lively collaboration that goes on in our community that impacts all of us as residents and business owners. Be happy to take any questions that you have. First, I'm going to let you enjoy our brand video.
There's a city, not so glitzy as New York or LA, but no less steeped in history. An essential part of the American tapestry, with a personality distinctly its own. A city astride a river, nestled among mountains, lush with forests, streams, and falls. There's a city at the center of invention and industry, bursting with vitality, incandescent with innovation, celebrated in song, chronicled in history, noted for its first, foremost, and only made here's. There's a city, a getaway from it all for adventurous spirits, kaleidoscopic with options, so much to see, do, and savor, adorned with public art, abounding with cuisine and culture, known for crafted and curated and absolutely authentic. There is a city, honest as heck, known for grit and gumption, aggressively welcoming, with a one-of-the-family kind of attitude, where pretension is checked at the door, authenticity decorates the room, and hospitality sets the table, but never oversteps. There is a city we call home, a city we love and love to share, a city called Chattanooga.
I don't know how many of you recognize the voice of your narrator, but that is one of those folks who started in tourism and has changed and grown, and we're very excited. He works with you guys in Public Works. How about that? Again, when we spoke with Councilman Elliott and really just wanted to share with you the impact that our industry has here in the community. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
All right, council, I think we have a couple folks on the board. Councilwoman Dolly.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for having this committee. That was a great presentation. As someone who started in travel and tourism in high school, we had a whole travel and tourism academy, and I worked at the Southern Belle, the Choo Choo, and when I got through college, I actually worked in tourism until I actually got another kind of job. But definitely a fan, have always been, because that got me out of my neighborhood to downtown. And that's why I love downtown so much now, because of those type of programs that offer that type of internship for good old Burner High School student. So I did have, and also I've seen influencers on like TikTok and things come to Chattanooga, and I'm always just like, oh my God, they're in Chattanooga. So y'all are doing a great job. I mean, to me, I was like, oh, look at us on TikTok. So it's exciting, but I did want to ask the hard question, which is, we've seen in the news where some of that funding from the county will be taken away. My concern is always relationships. You all have spent years building out these relationships, especially in the sports arena. How will that impact your relationship? I know you've already booked a few things, over the next couple of years, but how will that impact your work moving forward? Are you still going to be working with those larger sports deals that have been coming in, for years now?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for the question and for recognizing that history of work that we have. We are working with the folks from the Sports and Events Corporation. TSEC is the way it kind of rolls off my tongue quickly in that. But I have meetings with their principal very regularly. Our team members are communicating with them. We have a shared commitment across both our organizations that our clients will not know that we are working on transition, right?
Okay.
So that's the key, is that when those folks from TSSAA or a softball tournament or whomever that is, right, that they will experience the Chattanooga that they have come to know and love. And so we are working through that with the county. We're having those really difficult conversations. I pointed out we had some of our board members here. They are doing good hard work with asking questions and listening. Listening is a big part of that communication. But in terms of the transition kind of boots on the ground for events that are happening, our partners will see that Chattanooga is the welcoming place. It is the place that provides that experience, and we have a shared commitment toward that. We've done it really well so far with the work on the Spain national football team, and including have worked with some folks from your events team and from the Parks and Rec team with Hamilton County as we think about community activation while Spain is here, and we'll just continue doing that work.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate the clarity
Absolutely.
there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chairwoman Hill.
Thank you. Susan, thanks for coming today and for the presentation. One thing that I noticed as you were talking was about the PR work that the tourism company does, and that's the work we don't see happening. We see the results of. And for example, the Michelin Guide for American South, I had no idea that didn't just fall out of the air.
Right.
I see Top Chef or what, fill in the blank, and you just, somebody from Michelin called them up and said, I don't know. But to know that was a very thoughtful, long-term process is fascinating to me. And can you tell us just in a little bit more detail about the lead time, or for example, the soccer thing? We had an email come from Councilman Clark shortly, maybe 6 or 8 weeks ago, and he said, it'd be really great if we could have something to do with the World Cup. And then a week later, you guys announced this World Cup thing. And so my hypothesis is that didn't just happen because we happened to send an email 8 weeks beforehand.
Perhaps you are correct.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about the process and the timeline for a new festival, for this Women in Travel?
Sure.
Did they call last Tuesday and they're coming in May?
They did not. They
Tell
did
us
not,
more.
in fact, call last Tuesday. Our sales team would have died had they called last Tuesday to say they were coming in May. So this is a great question, and it really reveals one of those things, and that's one of the reasons why we're here and why I appreciate the opportunity, is to continue that education. So when we think about these larger scale events, they are years in the planning. Right? So the first conversations with FIFA took place in '23 and early in '24.
Wow.
And continued that work, right? And then even with the Sports and Events Corporations forming that work, like last fall, we were collaborating before anything ever hit the news about a new sports organization, because we were working with this client and trying to make sure that our community could have the benefit of this work. Typical meetings and conventions, and our VP of Sales is here, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to say 3 to 5 years is our typical. Yep, okay, good, got a thumbs up on that. 3 to 5 years is our typical work on a large-scale meeting and convention. I know that we worked with the International Bluegrass Music Association for well over 10 years before they chose us, and they chose us a year before their final year in Raleigh. So we think through those things. And same thing with the Women in Travel Summit. We were at their summit 2 years ago when we were in the bid process. We were there last year when it was announced that we would be this year's host. And we're doing a lot of work within that. And honestly, there are investments that we're making with these events so that they will choose Chattanooga. Because again, the impact when we have folks staying in our hotels, eating in our restaurants, shopping in our stores, all of those things benefit all of us as residents and as a community.
Those numbers are astounding. I mean, 2023, you all were already thinking about the World Cup. Is it happening in 2026?
2026, yeah, this summer.
I'm a sports ball kind of gal.
Couple of months from now.
So
We're within 120 days.
3 years in advance. Wow, Councilwoman Dotley, your point about relationships, it's important.
It is important.
Okay, so two questions. So first a serious one, and then a creative one. With regard to the county deciding to pull funding, and I don't know what the strategy is at the county for expanding government, the way they're choosing to, do their own planning agency, do their own tourism. It's an interesting choice. When they decided to sever that agreement, and you all, head back to your conference room and have that postmortem, what are the things that you see that you want to improve upon to ensure that the Chattanooga Tourism Company is functioning at the highest caliber so that you maintain good relationships with bodies like ours?
Sure, I think that's a great question. And as our board asked me to step into this interim role, one of the things that I talked with our executive committee about is really understanding that I think there's 3 main things that are right here in front of us. One of those is kind of our organizational structure. What does it look like? How are we positioned? If there's a separate sports organization in our community, then how do we double down on our focus on marketing and sales and continuing to do that work and also be cooperative within our community? Because again, that is our number one priority, is to continue to advance our industry for the benefit of residents and visitors here in our community. That's our number one.
Okay.
The second one is obviously figuring out the budget and what does that look like. And the third thing is thinking about what that transition is and what it looks like. And so that really, I mean, I have the ability to sit down with anybody who wants to look at the last 12 to 18 months, and I can give you my opinion, and I can point out lots of things and facts along the way that I think maybe would point to how we got where we were. Most of that actually is not helpful at this point, Because we are in fact where we are. And so what our team is focused on is how do we leverage the talented professionals that we have? How do we advocate on behalf of the important members of our community and our industry? Again, the hoteliers, the restaurateurs, the small business owners, the arts partners. So we really, Councilwoman, are in a vein of kind of being that solution-oriented looking forward. You know, a part of that obviously is relationships. It's having opportunities like these with you guys, as well as with the commission, and continuing to share information. I think, you know, that is one thing my team has heard me say. If they've heard me say it once, they've heard me say it 100 times. In the absence of facts, people will make up their own. Right? So from a leadership perspective, one of our desires is to make sure that all of the appropriate stakeholders have information.
Okay.
And so that's a part of our engagement strategy, is to continue to focus on communication and sharing information in a really transparent way.
Okay, cool. Okay, and then the creative question I had, watching the video, when there's that quick cut to the Tennessee flag, I think the Tennessee flag is beautiful. I think the Chattanooga flag is really ugly. And I don't think I'm alone in that. And I know that Chris Anderson has one of the original City of Chattanooga flags in his office.
The last one.
The last one, not the original, the prior version. I think it's cool when I go to DC and I see their DC flag places, or when I go to Chicago and I see that. If we had a better flag, could that be something that could be used as a marketing differentiator for us?
I think with the right creative people, anything can be used as a marketing differentiator. And so I'm kind of answering a little bit tongue in cheek, but I think particularly, and Councilwoman Dotley spoke to it, right, that the prevalence of social media and the way that comes.
Yeah.
So I think ideas and thoughtfulness around how to spark somebody's interest, how to get them to engage, how to get them to talk about Chattanooga. And for some people, that might be flags, and that might be different pieces. So I think those kind of ideas, I will just say, our marketing team, again, not all of them are here. We have a fabulous marketing team. And the level of creativity and just really their opportunities is amazing. And so, yeah, we're happy to hear whatever you've got for that.
Council, just put that in like a push pin in your brain about maybe might we think about getting rid of this bad flag. Thanks, that's all.
I don't know that we employ any flag designers per se, but we're happy to engage with you.
I have so many files about about flags, and there are bad flag awards, and I think ours would be close to being able to win a bad flag award from the flag people.
Well,
That's all, Mr. Chair, thank you.
thank you, Madam Chair. Council, that is all we have on the board. Do we have any other questions? All right.
Thank y'all so much for having me. Thank you, Council, for having us, and just for your support and partnership in our community. We appreciate you.
Susan and the rest of your team, thank you guys so much for being here to educate us. That is all, Madam Chair. When would you like for us to return? 5:45.
we are back in session. Madam Clerk, please read item 7A.
An ordinance closing and abandoning a public sewer easement located in the 1200 block of North Moore Road, tax map number 147 KC 045, beginning 14 feet southeast of MH number S147N205, then southeast approximately 98 feet to a point approximately 359 feet from MH number 147N005 as detailed on the attached maps.
Thank you. Council, can I get a motion?
Motion, I'm sorry. Motion to approve.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Do you have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Ordinances under first reading, item 8A, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 3886 Agawella Drive from RN16 residential neighborhood zone to RN3 residential neighborhood zone, subject to certain conditions.
Thank you. This is planning case number 2025-0190. Is the applicant present? Thank you. Do we have any opposition present? Thank you. So what we will do is we will have 7 minutes for the opposition to share their perspective on the case, or excuse me, for the applicant to share their perspective on the case, and then opposition will have up to 9 minutes. That will be shared amongst all opposition, and then we will give the applicant 2 minutes to respond to the criticism. So if you'd like to come on up, sir.
Well, good evening, Council. My name is Alan Jones with Stone Creek Consulting. 2 weeks ago, I gave a pretty lengthy kind of overview of this rezone request. So I'll just kind of touch on a few highlights. I think 2 weeks ago, there were 5 conditions that were recommended from Planning Commission and also from RPA. After talking, since this last meeting, after talking with Councilman Dennis and also with one of the neighbors immediately to the north of this property, I am asking and recommending that we add an additional condition which states that we provide a 7-foot privacy fence and a 10-foot landscape buffer along the northern property line, which is adjacent to parcel 147CD001. I think this would go a long ways to helping protect the immediate single-family residence that's to the north. But also note that my client also actually sold a small portion of his property to the property to the north to give him additional space as well. So this is kind of, trying to go above and beyond to help out the adjacent neighbor to provide that additional kind of buffering from this townhome development. But just a reminder, the conditions is to have a maximum of 2 street cuts along Agawella Drive, no more than 4 attached units per each mass building, and the purpose for that is to have a townhome style development, and that way we're not going to have 7 or 8 townhomes stacked up together. It helps break up the rhythm of the development. No more than 67 units. The previous request was, I think, 79 units, but working with the community and with the council member, we're reducing that number. No parking will be allowed between the buildings and Agawella Drive and the northern property line, and this is to create a nicer streetscape along Agawella Drive, only having those two driveway entrances into the property, and then having a maximum building height of 35 feet. Since this would technically fall under multi-unit, we want to make sure that we cap that 35-foot height, which is the established height for all residential districts in Chattanooga. So with that, I'll open up for any questions you may have.
Looks like we're good for now. Let's go ahead and let the opposition speak. You'll have 9 minutes on the clock.
Good afternoon. My name is Shelley Stevens, and we were very interested in the 7-foot privacy fence condition that's been added, so that's fantastic. We just wanted to reiterate the lack of a turn signal onto Shallowford Road to turn left and lay out our concerns again about the blind 90-degree curve coming into and out of the neighborhood, especially with proposed construction and landfill equipment.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to add anything? You have 2 minutes.
Sure. I'll let Councilman Dennis Clark respond to the traffic signal. I think he's already reached out to Public Works regarding that. And as far as the kind of the 90-degree turn within Agawalla, we'll be, through the land disturbance permitting process, we'll be working with the Transportation Department of Public Works just to confirm that we have the safe, distances from any hard turns and things like that, and just making sure that it'll be a safe environment. From a zoning perspective, this is really looking at, is this an appropriate use? And then when we get into the nitty-gritty details of stormwater, transportation, landscaping, and those requirements, we'll be working with LDO staff to make sure that it's an appropriate design.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilman Clark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To address the concerns of the community, I know, Ms. Shelley, you've been communicating with Karen Rennick regarding some of the permitting issues with stormwater and flooding, and I see that she got back with you on that email, so that's good. When we started the community input process, and I thank Councilman Henderson and Elliott and Davis for attending, we began having individual conversations with some of the residents, including Dennis Lancaster, who we spoke with because he is the only residential property that abuts this other than the Eastwood Manor senior community. And we put in the landscape buffering at his request. We raised the gate. If we were to go, he wanted 8 foot, but if we went over 8 foot, it would have caused a different zoning and construction thing, and he agreed to that. But in addition, there was concerns about the traffic, about being able to turn left or right off of Agawalla, even with the addition of the 67 homes. With Agawalla, Indian Hills has 52. This will be still one of the smaller communities in my district. My community has 180 homes. But this community will have a red light, even being one of the smaller communities where we are working with Public Works. I don't see Jay here today, but we've been working on this and allocating funds for this because we're also doing a light at Jersey Pike and Shallowford, in addition to the light addition to Agawalla. And this will be done before construction started. We were going to do this regardless of if they built anything there or not. But this will help ease some of the concerns of the neighbors regarding the traffic and being able to make a left turn out of Agawalla. So that is in the works by Public Works and has been appropriated in our budget. And last, there was an issue with the U-turns of the Boyd Buchanan families who are coming in from East Brainerd. And what they do, they come down to, well, not quite down to Agawalla, but right there in front of the old Walmart, and they make a U-turn, which again is causing issues for some of the Agawalla or Indian Hills residents to make a left turn without hitting a Boyd Buchanan parent making a U-turn. Ironically, the neighbor is the only resident who abuts his property, his children go to Boyd Buchanan, so he makes that left turn every morning. So we're working with him and CPD to stop illegal U-turns there. So we're putting in the traffic provisions to make it easy, not to overwhelm the residents of Indian Hills, and we hope to have that installed here shortly.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion, Councilman?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve with conditions. And do we need to read that in, or is that
So because we're late on getting the conditions on the agenda, let's go ahead and make a motion to approve this item, and then we can amend it.
There are 5 on the agenda on the motion, the current one with conditions.
Okay.
The last one, the 6th one, needs to be read into the record on a motion to amend,
Oh, okay, so we're only adding one.
adding 1 additional.
Okay, so we don't need to do an amendment on that, do we?
No, well, you need to do a motion to amend to include
We
one
do, we do need to do that.
additional
Okay,
Yes,
all right,
ma'am.
so we still get, that's okay, we still get to do.
Yeah, that was a late
amendment.
addition. My apologies
Yeah.
on that.
Okay, so if I can get a motion on the floor again with a little bit more clarity this time, I'm sorry, Councilman, say that again.
Okay, I'd like to make an motion to add the,
No,
or to amend.
Motion to approve.
motion to approve, subject to certain conditions.
I'd like to make a motion for approval subject to certain conditions.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Council, do we have any questions or comments about that? Okay, all in favor, or we have a,
Add that condition.
yes, thank you. Would you like to make a motion to amend now?
Yes.
Yes.
And state what the amendment includes,
Okay,
please.
I'm trying to pull it up. Thank you.
Would you
All
like the
right,
attorney?
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to amend, subject to certain conditions such as,
No,
well, I'm reading the language, yeah. Such as, provide a 7-foot privacy fence and a 10-foot landscape buffer along the northern borderline adjacent to parcel 147C D001.
thank you.
Sorry about that, thank you.
Can I get a second on that? Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to amend with a proper second. Do we have any questions or comments? All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion to amend has passed. Can I get a motion to approve as amended, please?
I'd like to make a motion to approve as amended.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to approve as amended with a proper second. Do I have any questions or comments? All in favor to approve as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve as amended passes. Thank you. Resolutions, Madam Clerk. Let's take items A and B as a package, please. Do we have any opposition to reading items A and B as a package, council? Seeing none, go ahead, please.
Item A, a resolution authorizing the Administrator of Economic Development to enter into a license agreement with the State of Tennessee and substantially the form attached to use a portion along Interstate 24 at mile marker 13.71 to mile marker 14.31 for the continued maintenance of the Brainerd Levee and flood wall for a term of 10 years at no cost to the city. Item B, a resolution authorizing the mayor has a need to jointly with Hamilton County enter into a contract for sale and purchase with the Cherokee Area Council, Inc. and the Boy Scouts of America in substantially the form attached for the joint acquisition of approximately 19.6 acre tract identified as tax map number 130003, located adjacent to I-75 and Volkswagen Drive for the sum of $525,000 with closing expenses not to exceed $5,000 for a total not to exceed amount of $530,000 with the city responsibility being 1/2 of the total acquisition expense and said transaction recommended by Planning Commission MR 2026.0024.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve these two items with a proper second. Do we have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item C, please.
A resolution authorizing the Deputy Chief Human Resources Officer to execute the 1-2-year renewal of a health services agreement between the City of Chattanooga and 1-2-1 Health LLC for preventative wellness, disease management, health consultation, occupational health, and/or primary care services for the term beginning on December 26, 2026, and ending on December 26, 2028.
Second.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with a proper second. Do I have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Madam Clerk, let's take items D through G as a package, please.
Item D, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's appointment of Jeff Beasley to the Board of Mechanical Examiners for a term beginning on March 25, 2026 and ending on March 24, 2030. Item E, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's appointment of Buck Ryder to the Board of Mechanical Examiners for a term beginning on March 25, 2026 and ending on March 24, 2030. Item F, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's appointment of Gabby Thomas to the Tree Commission for a term beginning on March 25, 2026 and ending on March 24, 2030. Item G, a resolution confirming Mayor Kelly's reappointment of Paul McGinnis to the Board of Plumbing Examiners for a term beginning on September 29, 2025 and ending on September 28, 2027.
Thank you. Council, we have a motion on the floor to approve these items with the proper second. Do you have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item H.
A resolution authorizing the administrator of Parks and Outdoors, if awarded, to accept a grant in the amount of $1,790,000 to $1,790,915 from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation Local Parks and Recreation Fund for the development of new and improved infrastructure along the Tennessee River on the north and the infrastructure enhancement of the existing greenway at the Brainerd Levee. The required 100% match will be provided through an Arise grant of $1,196,068 if awarded, and a city commitment of $594,847 for a total project cost of $3,581,830.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second. Do I have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Let's take items I through L as a package, please, Madam Clerk.
Item I, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to approve change order number 2, final for contract number F23004-201 fire training tower construction with J. Reed Constructors, Inc., of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, for an increased amount of $56,176.10 for a final contract amount of $1,516,028.67, and to execute a 4-year limited warranty regarding elevated slab concrete work at the fire training tower with subcontractor Yerby Contract Construction LLC, starting after the March 14, 2025 substantial completion date. Item J, a resolution amending resolution number 32769 as follows. A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to enter into a 4-year contract for the development and creation of a stormwater asset management plan, SWAMP, contract number S25009-100 with Bars Design Solutions, Inc., for professional services for a total amount not to exceed $4,230,000 annually. Item K, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to execute a consent of assignment of all purchase orders and all purchase agreements for vendor number 865550 Reagan Smith Associates LLC to Pape Dawson Consulting Engineers LLC relative to the following purchase orders. Number 160324 Chattanooga Skate Park Construction Services Contractor Coordination. Number 156979 Main Street Restripping Design. Number 151886 Hickory Valley Road Bridge Repair and Dock Widening. Number 116862 Central Avenue Roadway Extension. Number 113655 38th Street Detention Pond RPR, and relative to the following purchase agreements. Number 10081A On-Call Design and Plan Production Services. Number 100258 Professional Services Surveying. And number 100778 Professional Services RPR. Item L, a resolution authorizing payment to Hamilton County Geospatial Technology for addressing services during fiscal year 2026 according to the addressing memorandum of understanding between the city of Chattanooga and Hamilton County dated May 19, 2006, in the amount of $68,348.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, council, we have a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second. Do I have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Planning item M, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator of Planning, Regional Planning Agency to enter into an agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates, Inc. to develop a 30% design and preliminary engineering plan for reconnecting West Side for $2,064,150 with a contingency in the amount of $206,415 for a total amount not to exceed $2,270,565.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second. Council, do we have any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Items N and O, please, Madam Clerk, as a package.
Item N, a resolution authorizing the appointment of James Stewart as a special commission police officer unarmed for McCamey Animal Services to perform duties expressly limited to the performance of his duties and the position of animal protection officer. Item O, a resolution authorizing the appointment of Jillian Crook as a special commission police officer unarmed for McCamey Animal Services to perform duties expressly limited to the performance of her duties in the position of animal protection officer.
Second.
Thank you. We've got a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second. Council, do we have any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Let's take a look at our purchases, please.
Good evening, council.
Hello.
I have 6 purchases recommended for your approval this evening. The first one is for Public Works. This is year 3 renewal. Southeastern Materials is requesting a 2.1% increase due to the increased cost of material. There will be no increase to the annual amount limit. Public Works approved the increase. Number 2 is for Public Works. This is year 4 renewal. Vulcan is requesting a 2.4% increase due to the increased cost of raw material. There will be no increase to the annual amount limit. Public Works approved this increase. Number 3 is for wastewater. This is a new agreement for painting services. This will be a 4-year agreement with an annual limit of $500,000. The award will go to Quality Mechanical Group as the best bid. Number 4 is for Community Health. Community Health is requesting an increase of $45,000 to agreement PA 100813 through June 30th of 2026 to cover current and future invoices. The new annual spend limit will be $95,000. Number 5 is for Fire Department. This is a one-time purchase of fire hose for the fire department. This sole source purchase from Tennessee Fire Equipment will be in the amount of $60,266. Number 6 is for Risk Management. This is a new agreement for third-party injury on duty. This will be a 2-year agreement with 3 one-year options to renew with an annual limit of $3,200,000. The award will go to Johnston and Associates as the best proposal.
Thank you very much.
Second.
Thank you. We've got a motion on the floor to approve with the proper second. Do we have any questions or comments about these purchases, council? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, council, we're going to go around the horn for committee reports. Councilman Henderson.
No report.
Councilman Davis.
No report.
Councilman Harvey.
No report.
Councilman Clark.
No report.
Councilman Elliott.
Yes, Madam Chair, we have a economic development meeting coming up on April 7th. We have a committee meeting, and we're going to hear from Urban Story Ventures and folks with the Bend to give us an update on how that project is going.
Thank you very much, Councilman. Councilwoman Dotley.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. We will have our budget work session next Tuesday, starting at 9 a.m. We will discuss our finance policies that we probably discussed maybe a month ago. So we'll talk about those, and then the remainder of the time, we'll be discussing the research from Dr. Acuff and the updates that he has made. So I'll be sending out the policies to you all, and thank you to Weston, who has been so fantastic in that. So I'll be sending those out to you all with some of the updates, and then also the updates from Dr. Acuff prior to the meeting. So that is that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Burrs.
No report.
Vice Chairwoman Knoll.
No report.
Okay, I have 3 short announcements. The first is when you head out of the council chambers today, turn to your right and take a look. We have a really neat Liberty Bell sculpture on the front lawn of our building, and it is one of about 50 that are going to be installed all over our city and county in recognition of the 250th birthday of America. There's a committee, a party planning committee that has been It's
And it's on silent too. That scared me.
not. Quack. But there's a group of community members that have been planning all the festivities, and this was something that they actually worked out with Siskin Steel, and apparently Siskin Steel was immediately so happy to participate and actually donated all 50 of these Liberty Bells to the committee. So many thanks to Siskin Steel. Also, thank you to the folks who have been appointed tonight. We appreciate your service to our community. Next announcement, on the 14th of April, the new Lookout Stadium is going to be opening, and so we will have our meeting early that day. We will start our meeting at 2 instead of at our typical 3:30 time. Also, on the 14th of April, we will have our election of officers for the city council. That is all the announcements for tonight. If you are here and you would like to address the council, we're glad you're here. We ask you to go ahead and line up behind the podium and listen while our attorney reads the rules.
Yes, ma'am. At the end of each council business meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public who wish to address the council. And here's your rules. Each speaker wishing to address can only be recognized at the microphone up front for that purpose. Can't have more than 3 minutes to speak, and you can address the council only upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority and not on matters which are not under their authority or regulated by other governmental bodies or agencies. Do not engage in any vulgar or obscene language nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others, and address your comments to the council as a whole, not towards individual council members. Lastly, do not engage in disorderly conduct or disrupting a public meeting, which is prohibited by Tennessee law. And someone commits that offense if a person substantially obstructs or interferes with the meeting by physical action or verbal utterance with the intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting or gathering. Having stated those rules, please go ahead, ma'am, and state your name and your district if you could.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Melissa Ray. I live at 4006 Dearmont Court, and I'm here on behalf of the grassroots nonprofit Save Enterprise South Nature Park. As we all know, the county's land swap and industrialization plans at the nature park were withdrawn back in January after what became a pretty moving wave of public opposition and a coalescence of local and regional groups, including the Unity Group, the local Sierra Club, and the Southern Environmental Law Center. We are so thankful that the county listened to the desires and the values of our community and withdrew the land swap proposal. And our group is now transitioning to more of a park partners model, but we are still taking our advocacy role very seriously. So today, the City Council voted to acquire the 19-acre tract of forested land owned by the Boy Scouts of America. This parcel is currently zoned, or was currently zoned for heavy industry. Now I've heard it's M1, which also does allow for light industry, from my understanding. But it is in a natural state, and it is landlocked by permanently protected Enterprise South Nature Park land. Any development would directly impact protected parkland, and access to that parcel would require going through permanently protected parkland, raising concerns around future land swaps. So the deed for the parkland makes it very clear that any development within the boundaries of that parcel of the park, even access roads, must be for recreational purposes only, not industry. We are asking the city to please follow the recommendations of the Regional Planning Commission and rezone the Boy Scouts parcel as OS, open space, for recreation and green space after acquisition, or maybe investigate other protection mechanisms and layers that could be added to that property. It seems like a pretty low-hanging fruit of an opportunity to expand the park and to honor the wishes of our community to keep ESNP protected. I also do want to reiterate why maintaining protections at this particular park is so important. Aside from just, we like the park and wildlife and trees are good, which are true, because of how this land was acquired from the federal government, the deed restrictions are held by the Department of Interior, and the deed states that it has been set aside for the public in perpetuity forever. 3 times it says forever. So these are some of the most robust protections an area of land can have. So what does it mean to start chipping away at that for access to industry? Think about what it would mean if the federal government began selling off chunks of Great Smoky Mountains National Park or Yellowstone. You know, we trust that these places were set aside forever for our children, for their children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
How you doing? My name is Dylan Bryan. I represent Rise and Thrive. I'm here on behalf of high-risk kids that's out here in the city. I'm currently working with over about 50 kids as of now. I'm hands-on, boots on the ground in the community, whatever you may. I'm out here doing the work when pretty much get my hands dirty. I'm in the trenches, as they say. I'm gonna give you a quick story. This is just a quick story. This child right here, I worked with him back in 2023, Deshaun Evans, and he was murdered. He was murdered. That's how long it's been. He's been murdered. I was currently at the Tyner alumni, and I was hands-on in that. I ran through the crowd. How can I say? I'm trying to make this word quick. I ran through the crowd. I addressed pretty much solid issues that need to be addressed. One girl had got shot in the back. I administered pressure to her back as the ambulance came. This is the outcome of her. She's doing fine now. How I got started with Rise and Thrive, I was 17 years old. I was a high-risk kid. I basically did 14 and a half years in incarceration. I got out, and now I'm doing my due diligence when it comes to these kids. I'm picking up where others have left off at. So I heard them say earlier when they spoke on the city, and as far as just the visitors and stuff like that, if we don't make an impact with these kids, visitors aren't going to want to come. The money that's being spent, they're not going to spend it. We have to be hands-on within the community, and if we don't dig our hands in the community, and I don't get people in to be boots on the ground with me, it's not going to go anywhere. It was a beautiful video. I like the video the lady showed. It showed peace, but all that could be taken away by change of violence that's real in the city and everything else. What I'm here for is not monetary. I'm here for resources. I'm here for clothes, things that you will wear, not rags. That's what these kids need. I have a whole bunch of kids that couch surf. I'm looking for housing. I have kids that couch surf on the daily. Places, spaces, safe places for high-risk kids, my high-risk kids. I'm looking for that. I'm looking for drug treatment. I'm looking for jobs, safe jobs, because like I say, my kids are high risk. So they have to work in shielded warehouses and stuff like that, where there's no outside people coming in. Gyms that are no longer in use. I could use them. I can use them for my kids to play basketball and do all kind of activities and stuff like that, where they can pretty much be away and isolated from all the stuff that's going on. Basketball courts that are no longer in use. I have a use for them. Vans, I need vans to transport my kids here and there. But like I say, I have my pamphlets right here. I'm a Rise and Thrive. What we do equine therapy with the kids. We get them out in nature and things of that such. But yeah, that's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, thank you very much for what you do in our community. It looks like we've got a councilperson that would like to say something. And after that, I think if you'd like to meet up with Kevin Roy. Kevin, will you wave your hand, please, back there? Kevin is the chief of staff for the city, and he can introduce you to our chief medical officer for the city.
Yes, ma'am.
We do make a lot of investments in stopping violence and working with youth, and there may be a way for you to plug in with
Yes,
them. Councilwoman Dotley. Oh, I pushed next and you were already lit up. I'm sorry, push it again.
Oh, yeah, that was from earlier.
Oh, it's from earlier. Oh, okay. Well, then just get with Kevin and he will get you introduced to our chief physician.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, you've got okay, there you go. Councilman Harvey.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
How many of those pamphlets do you have? You have more than one?
Yes, sir. I have 3 as of now. Would you like one?
Okay, yeah, if you don't mind, if you want to pass it to Ron there, so we can get your information. We appreciate you being here. Thank you for what you do for the community.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll reach out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Council, my name is Jeff Suggs. So you will know me as Jack's grandfather, who sits up here, so.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, there he is. The question on Carter and the parking downtown, we all know, we all live here, so we know what that impact is. Here's a personal experience. Put in a situation, we wanted to go down to, we were downtown, we'd go to eat. Went to Puckett's downtown, had a choice. I have a big truck, parking on the street is difficult, so we parked in a lot. There were 3 cars in the lot. It cost me more money to park my truck to go in to eat, and there's nothing in the parking lot. I don't mind paying for lots. I don't mind paying to have a place where I can park my truck, where I don't have to worry about it being dinged or anything else. But when it costs me $30 to park my truck so I can go in it to eat, my next choice is I'm not coming downtown to eat.
Yep, that's right.
I'm not. You know, there's other options for me. And I hate that because we do like to come downtown, park, be able to eat, walk and explore. I love Chattanooga. I love it so much. I bring my grandson here every week.
Thank you.
You know, but when my city makes it difficult for me to enjoy the things that Chattanooga offers, that becomes an issue. And I think it's something that as citizens, we all need to consider. Great, we're reaching out to, advertising in other cities. But when it becomes a choice between, okay, I'll just stay out in Ottawa, or I'll just go here and not put my money's just as important as the people you're trying to bring in. That needs to be considered from the council and the businesses down here who are making money. And there's no reason it should cost that much on a weeknight to come down and enjoy the city. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's a great example of one of those private lots where instead of $30, it would be $3 under this new ordinance.
He's my grandfather, by the way. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Good evening, Council. My name is Avery Shadwick. I live out in Appleton, but I currently attend CSLA, Chattanooga School for the Liberal Arts. I'm here to talk about the change that could make a meaningful difference in our community, establishing easily accessible recycling programs in our schools, specifically public schools. In the 1970s, Chattanooga was considered one of the most dirty cities in America, but now it is America's first national park city. It might just sound like a fancy title, but it represents the natural beauty of our city and community. We owe it to our city to ensure that Chattanooga remains clean and that possibly could get even cleaner. To do this, we must make recycling available to everyone, especially in our public schools. Every day, thousands of students and teachers use paper, clipboard, cardboard, plastic bottles, and aluminum cans, all of which end up in the trash. In fact, the average resident of Tennessee produces about 6 pounds of trash per day. This trash then ends up in landfills or even worse, disposed of in our beautiful environment. However, most of these items could be recycled. By introducing recycling in our schools, we have the opportunity to reduce waste, protect our environment, and teach the next generation about responsibility and ethics. Schools are not just places where students learn about math and history, but they also learn lifelong habits and expectations as residents of Chattanooga. These small actions could build habits that last for decades to the point of where they are teaching the generations to come. In my school, second graders advocated for plastic trays in our cafeteria, and they got them instated. It didn't last very long, but in that spring, we were able to reduce hundreds of bags of trash that we produced every day. Introducing recycling programs can lower the amount of waste our schools send to landfills and can keep the areas surrounding our schools clean. Additionally, it can show surrounding cities that Chattanooga is committed to sustainability and preparing students for a future where environmental stewardship matters more than ever. I'm proposing that Chattanooga set aside funds for recycling programs citywide to encourage schools to house recycling programs and gear towards sustainable practices regarding waste management. Today, I ask the City of Chattanooga to support this endeavor. By taking this step, we can reduce waste, educate students, and build a culture that benefits both our community and our planet. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who would like to address the council? Council, I don't see anybody else who would like to address the council.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to adjourn council with a proper second. Any questions or comment? All in favor of adjourning? We're adjourned. We are adjourned. Thank you.